Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to DannieBSpeaks, the podcast. Looking forward to having another great discussion with you all. Of course, like anything else, it's just going to be all over the place, just be covering anything and everything. So as always, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So I want to start off the show by sending condolences to the family, friends, people who worked with him. Just a strong rest in peace to filmmaker John Singleton, who passed away this past Monday after suffering a massive stroke almost 2 weeks ago. I didn't realize it was that long ago because we just heard about it. What was it, the weekend before? So that's just terrible. He was only 51 years old. And let me just say this. I don't know what it was about a John Singleton film, but I remember when Boys in the Hood first came out, and I would watch that movie. I should say when the VHS came out, and I bought that VHS with my own money. And the thing was, I didn't see that movie in the movie theaters. I think I watched it first maybe on HBO when it came on HBO, and then I just fell in love. I fell in love with it, and I would watch that movie every night because I think it came out maybe around, it had to be like summer vacation or something because I would be up real late. At the time, I was probably like 11 or 12. I didn't have a VCR in my room, so I was probably 12 years old. But anyway, I didn't have a VCR in my room at the time, so I would go downstairs after my mom and stepdad went to sleep, and I would just go down there and watch it every night. And I did the same thing with Poetic Justice. And people may say, oh, that's just because, you know, Janet's your favorite. And I think Janet did a good job in Poetic Justice, but I was also a huge Tupac fan. Well, I'm still a huge Tupac fan. But actually, that movie, the one who really did it for me was Regina King. Her character, Aisha, was hilarious to me. But I used to watch that all the time. Even the Shaft remake, I watched that. You know, I mean, so it was just something about his films that really just did something. So he's truly going to be missed. At 24 years old, he was the youngest filmmaker to be nominated for an Academy Award for Boys in the Hood. So that talent is just going to be extremely missed in the entertainment business. So rest in peace again to him. And also, let's send prayers out to Peebo Bryson, who is recovering after suffering a heart attack. So yeah, that's R&B legend Peebo Bryson, who my mom is a huge fan of. Him, James Ingram, who also sadly passed away not too long ago. Luther Vandross, who of course we lost, what was it, about maybe 14 years ago? Wow, it's been, yeah, because it was 2005 when he passed away. I think, yeah. Anyway, and I'm trying to think of Tina Marie, who's no longer with us either. And there was another artist, but my mom and my aunt, and at least one of my aunts, the one that's closer to her in age, you can't tell them nothing about those artists right there because that's all they listened to when I was growing up. And that's why their music is so ingrained in my head. And that's why I still listen to them today. So hopefully Peebo Bryson will come out of this and have a healthy recovery. And I just found out today, a friend of mine tagged me in this post, but legendary rapper Curtis Blow is in the hospital recovering after having an aortic artery repaired. And this is a problem from a condition that he already had. And it got worse after traveling to China. So that's why they tell people, you know, you shouldn't travel, especially on a plane, I should say. It's probably not good to travel anyway. But if you're having health issues, certain health issues, because it can get worse, just all that traveling. Traveling does a lot to the body, and especially when you're sitting on a plane for a long time and, you know, you're in a different environment. Hopefully he's recovering from that pretty good. Let's send prayers out to the family of John Singleton and a fast and healthy recovery for Peebo Bryson and Curtis Blow. So let's just go ahead and talk about the Cultural Appropriation Awards. The BET Awards. There we go. So Kelly Clarkson hosted the awards, the 2019 Billboard Music Awards, and she did a great job. You know, Kelly has that kind of personality to where she's just a great host. You know, she knows how to grab your attention. She knows how to entertain, you know, so Kelly Clarkson did a good job. She also performed. We all know she can sing her butt off, so she did a great job. Now, maybe it's just the time times. But that group from, where are they from? South Korea, that K-pop group, which y'all already know how I feel about K-pop. I've mentioned that before. It makes me itch. BTS, I guess that's their name. They're the ones that look like they got about 30 guys on stage, but I think it's only like 6 or 7. And they lip sync every song because they're dancing so dang much. So we don't even know how talented they really are. Now they can dance. I'll give them that. I mean, these young girls love them some androgynous dudes, because when I first saw them, did some of them do they wear lipstick? I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. Trust me, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm the last person to talk about androgyny or anyone like that because I love it. But I just don't know what they're giving. That's the thing. But they're from a different culture. So now I will say this. If I could turn down their music and watch them dance, I would do that. You know, I've seen them on Ellen many a time. She always has them on. I just can't listen to the music. More cultural appropriation. Madonna's still Madge. I mean, she is just out here being Madonna. Let's just put it like that. But those holograms, girl, I mean, it was a very weird performance, but that's Madonna. We can't, really expect anything else from her. Auntie Mariah Carey won the Icon Award. However, I wasn't impressed with her performance. Now, she had a great speech, but Mama's vocals weren't all the way there, and that's a common thing, but I still love her down. Congratulations to Mariah. Way overdue for an Icon Award at the Billboard Awards, as long as many number one hits as she's had. I mean, okay, but she won the awards. Let's just be happy, I guess I should say. Now, Taylor Swift. She wants to be Beyonce so bad. I mean, it's almost pathetic. First, let me start off by saying that you owe every single HBCU at least a $1 million donation. And, this isn't the first time that Taylor copied a Beyonce performance, or just Beyonce period, and has not acknowledged Beyonce, has not gave her props for it or anything like that. But I think Taylor's video for Look What You Made Me Do or something like that, which is a very catchy song. I'm not going to lie. Taylor has some catchy songs. I'm just not a fan. I mean, it was just so obvious. The drum line, and they were offbeat, girl, So just like your dance moves, they were offbeat, but hey, whatever. Yeah, I just don't know where else to go with that. She clearly was biting off of Beyonce. And then, of course, her fans talking about Taylor did a drum line before or something like that. Destiny's Child did a drum line way before we even knew who a Taylor Swift was. What was it, the Bugaboo video, I think, that had Wyclef in it? Anyway, she copied her Beyonce's Coachella performance at the beginning. Now, if she wouldn't have came out with that whole drum line thing, which it was unnecessary, and the pose, people would have let it go. She could have came out, did her own thing. Find your own pose, girl. That's Beyonce's pose. Beyonce didn't copy a Janet pose. She didn't copy a Diana Ross pose, a Tina Turner pose. Beyonce has her own. That's her signature pose. And you don't need to do it. But you didn't do it. You tried to, but you didn't. So there's that. Okay. And lastly, the only other thing I'm going to talk about I was about to say the BET Awards. Good Lord. But Paula Abdul, yes, honey. I mean, she killed it. I watched her performance twice because she closed the show and she put it down. Now, I know Paula has to be closer to 60 years old if she's not already. I don't know her age, but Paula's been around for a long time. And don't act like y'all didn't vibe to Paula Abdul back in the day, because Mama had some hits. So she did an excellent job. She said it's been hard trying to get her body back to dancing as much as she's going to, because she's going to be starting her Vegas residency. So that's good for her. Happy for her about that. And that's my take on the Billboard Awards. I just watched the highlights, the performances. This one seemed like it may have been comical enough. People said it was boring, but this one seems like it may have been just a mess enough for me to watch and participate in shade talking, but I just didn't feel like it. I had other things to do. And we're back on it. Dear Wade Robson. Now, of course, Wade Robson is one of the accusers of the Leaving Neverland mess documentary, whatever you want to call it. But it's your turn, buddy. I got on Safe Chuck. Oh, and I got more for Safe Chuck's ass in a little bit, but let's get to Wade Robson real quick now. The girls have been out here digging up dirt on you. I mean, Okay, let's just get right into it. So it's time for you to get some of this. Now, after Wade, before he made the first allegations, Wade was turned down. I spoke about this before, but he was turned down for the Cirque du Soleil Michael Jackson 1. He was turned down for that. And let's backtrack a little bit more. 2 days after Michael Jackson passed away, he reached out to Michael's management and asked were there going to be any tributes to him because he would like to take part in it. Now, was that about Michael or was that about you? Because if one of my best friends died, the one who brought me into the business and who I've defended all these years and all that stuff, the last thing I would be worried about a day or two after he passed away is a tribute. Now, you should know there were going to be some. It's Michael Jackson, the greatest entertainer that ever lived. But that shouldn't have been your first thing. So I think that was more about you and you getting out there and doing stuff. Now, fast forward back to the Cirque du Soleil 1 performance. Now, he had just got fired from being choreographer for Step Up, the movie. So throughout the years since Michael had passed away, and even a little bit before, Wade has been fired and he hasn't been getting work. I mean, Britney Spears let him go as choreographer. A lot of these other artists who he was choreographing for let him go because of his ways. It was well known that he was a very shady character and he did a lot of crazy things. He was real underhanded, pretty much just about himself. He didn't care about, he just wanted to make sure that he was at the forefront, even with the artists that he was working with. So he's not getting any choreography jobs. He goes on to get the choreographer job for Step Up, gets fired from that because he's having all these nervous breakdowns. And I think that they just really didn't care for him too much. Then after that, he goes to audition. And I think he didn't even feel like he had to audition. So he was already pissed off of that. He thought that he should have got the job for the Cirque du Soleil. So I think he was a little pissed off for having to even audition in the first place. He didn't get the job and he was pissed. So not long after that, he starts selling some of Michael Jackson's memorabilia, like the glove, his sparkly glove, his hat from Moonwalker, the Smooth Criminal video, I should say, many other things, pictures of Michael Jackson, all this other stuff that he owned because he was broke and he needed money. Keep that in mind. The host of the auction site said that Wade wanted to remain anonymous, but they don't do that because they need to let people know who are buying these things, how they were obtained. So they're going to have to let people know publicly who these items came from. And when you say that these are Michael Jackson items from Wade Robson, who people may not know who he is, but they look him up, they'll see the connection between him and Michael Jackson and be like, oh, okay, they were good friends. I'll go ahead and these should be legit. He made $35,000, and it may have been a little bit more. Those were just the sales from the hat and the glove. He made $35,000, wanted to remain anonymous. If that's not shady, I don't know what else is. So he was just broke and struggling for money. So what's the next thing to do when you run out of money? Let me accuse Michael Jackson of sexual assault. Let me do that. Let me make up this story, have this little soft voice, and just sound like I'm just so innocent and I never hurt anybody and I can't believe that somebody did this to me, and it's all just bullshit. A lot of his time frames and everything are being looked into now. I'm telling you, people are serious about this because you're not going to mess with someone's legacy, especially someone like Michael Jackson who is no longer with us. And at the end, I guess he's shown, at the end of the documentary, he's shown burning some of Michael's memorabilia or his memorabilia from Michael Jackson that he's had over the years. Now, people were saying they don't think a lot of that stuff was real. And if it was stuff that wasn't of value. And he knows that because he had tried to, he was successful at selling some on the auction site, and the ones that he wasn't, I guess he felt that those were okay to burn, and it just adds, it adds drama. Let's just call it that. So that's all for him. Now back to Safe Chuck's ass. Now, a few months before he came out with the allegations, which weren't too long after Wade Robson, he was being sued by a family member for $300,000. So both of them were having financial issues. Ding, ding, ding. I was molested by Michael Jackson. We remember that after we're having financial issues, even though the story keeps changing and they didn't directly say, but it's just, that's what it is. Another contradiction in the documentary was Safe Chuck's mom. She said that she celebrated and she danced when MJ died. But Safe Chuck stated in the documentary and on Oprah that he didn't remember he was abused by Michael Jackson until 2013. That was 4 years after Michael Jackson's death. So why was Safe Chuck's mother celebrating when she and her son still adored Michael Jackson? Jackson still had, I guess, some kind of relationship with him before his death. So why was she celebrating in 2009 when she didn't find out about these allegations that her son was sexually abused until 2013? Girl, you're lying. And lastly, Safechuck also stated that he was asked to testify in the 2005 trial. Two members from MJ's legal team said that he was never sent anything to testify and his name never came up. It only came up during the pre-trial, not during the trial, just on a list of men, well now men, but boys back then, who had spent a lot of time with Michael Jackson. So he's making it seem like I didn't testify because of what he did to me and I didn't want to be a part of it, but you were never asked to testify during the trial. Okay. Just the arrogance, the greed, the privilege, just everything in this is just pathetic. It just really is. And even the guys who they said in the documentary were also abused by Michael Jackson. They all have came out and said, no, we weren't. We were never abused by Michael Jackson. And a lot of them have been around longer and spent more time with Michael and his family than they had. So there's that. It's just so many things coming out that are contradicting their entire story. I don't know, but it's not looking good. So I hope somebody does take legal action against them. Taj Jackson, who is Tito's son, his oldest son, started a fundraiser, GoFundMe, to do the rebuttal since no one has given the family a chance to say anything about this and speak out this publicly, except for like these radio shows. And the Jackson brothers were on, what show was CBS this morning, talking to Gayle King, but they hadn't really, especially since the documentary came out, no one has reached out to them, not before, during, or after. So he's putting together, and he has like already so many people have volunteered to be a part of this, but the money is getting raised and he's still been filming it. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm definitely going to watch that one whenever it comes out. Hopefully they'll put it on, what's a competitor to HBO, and hopefully it has more ratings, which the Leaving Neverland documentary, the ratings were pitiful. And then it's not even on there anymore. So there's that. So let's just talk about it, okay? A Northern Virginia tech staffing company called Sinet Systems, I guess that's how you pronounce it, I really don't care, but they had to send out an apology after an online job posting sought, in their description, preferably Caucasian applicants. I mean, child, people are so bold nowadays. I mean, they just don't give a damn. And this is a staffing company. So who in this staffing company approved this? And this obviously came from the company with, that they're contracted with that is hiring them. They need to break that contract if they haven't already. We know that when people go to these interviews, or even if you're going through a tech staffing company, we know they sort people out. They act like they don't know what race somebody is, what nationality somebody is, just in the job application. They know. I don't know how true this is, but one way that I've heard in the past that they know is by your social security number. And I'm going to have to look that up again, but it's a certain digit in your social security number that lets people know if this digit is odd or even, what race you are. And then there's another number that lets people know what nationality you are. Now, I don't know how true that is, but I remember, I want to say for Black people, whatever digit it is, it's even. I'm going to have to look that up because I need to know if that's true, because that would be crazy. I want to say it may be the 6th digit, and if it's even, it's a Black person. If it's an odd number, it's a white person. And I think I remember, like, me and a few other people who were Black, and all of us, that particular digit in our social security number was even. So I don't know how true that is. I don't know if that was just a coinkydink. I don't know. But anyway, let's get back to this racist bullshit. So the tech staffing company, see, I'm getting all worked up, but the company said that the individuals involved have been fired and the job post does not reflect our core values of inclusivity and equality. The help wanted ad was posted on LinkedIn and other sites. It sought an account manager for a job based in Tampa, Florida, with an unspecified pharma company. A bullet point under the job description described a candidate who was preferably Caucasian who has a good technical background. The posting caused a stir on social media, with one person asking, "How could you possibly think this is okay?" So they apologized for it. They said that it doesn't reflect their core values and inclusivity. Is that how you pronounce it? Anyway, and equality. Okay, now I said earlier that, let me backtrack. So they did fire this company. company and remove the job post. Okay, that's all fine and good. But however, don't y'all have people at your company? Because your name is on this. That company's name's not on it. Your company is on it. So you don't have anyone that approves these job postings before they go out there, and no one saw that and no one thought that was okay. I'm sorry if you don't do it that way. I hope that you are doing that from now on and having someone look over these postings. And if you need someone, you can send me the postings and I will gladly do them for a fee. I need a part-time gig. Anyway, I mean, child, I just don't understand. But we know what this is all a reflection of. Companies wouldn't have been as bold and brazen to do this a few years ago. But we know why they feel comfortable in doing this now. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So Sinet Systems, get it together over there, because obviously y'all need to take more control of your postings if you're not. And if you do look over the postings before you post them, then this is your fault as well. Todd Tucker, of course, who is Candy Burris' husband, has been suspended for calling Real Housewives of Atlanta's last season trash. So people are now getting in trouble for telling the truth. I mean, I don't get it, but I guess, I never thought that the husbands were under contract, but I guess it makes sense that they are. And I just thought that because they claim that they don't get paid for being on the show, but I guess they have to be under some type of contract or something. But he basically just went in, especially after watching the reunion and just talking about how no one except for one girl on the show, I can't think of her name. I guess she's a newer person on the show, but she was the only one that really stood up to Nene. And I guess Nene was really off the hook this season, in her feelings about a lot of things. And rightfully so, she's going through a lot in her personal life. And I mean, this show is supposed to reflect their real lives, not these made up scripted lives that a lot of them have been doing lately on a lot of these shows. I don't know. I think that's weird that he got suspended, especially as being a husband of one of the cast members and one of the longer cast members, for just saying that the season was trash. I mean, come on, Bravo. Don't get all in your feelings now. Y'all done ruined enough people and enough lives, calling a show that he's on and been a part of and that his wife is a part of trash. I don't see anything wrong with that. I'm just saying. Motown 60. Okay. Let me just start off by saying this. I totally understand that a huge majority of the original Motown stars are sadly and unfortunately no longer with us. I mean, Motown started in the late 50s, early 60s, and of course the legendary artists, most of them have passed on, or they're just older and don't want to perform, or they just don't perform anymore. I mean, that's understandable. My thing is this, and this really piggyback off of the J-Lo performance, her Motown tribute at the Grammys this past year. Well, I mean, within this year, the 2019 Grammys, earlier this year, I should say. But, I talked about that, and I just felt that it was a little disrespectful, and I don't care if Smokey Robinson and Berry Gordy has something to do with it, but I think to the legacy of Motown, her performance didn't capture the essence of Motown. It was just geared towards trying to identify with a younger generation, trying to get them over to Motown and try to get the history of Motown, but you can't do that when you're doing a salsa version of a bunch of up-tempo Motown songs. I'm just saying. So J-Lo did her performance and she did her thing. I'm not going to lie, but it was a J-Lo performance. And as I mentioned in the podcast previously when I discussed this, I just feel like when you're doing a tribute, and especially a tribute on an award show or a show dedicated to this particular legendary brand and record label with all these legendary artists and songs that people still sing today that are featured in tons of commercials and movies, it needs to be more artists who represent the original and what they do, or what they did, I should say. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying J-Lo did a bad job. I'm not saying that she's not rightfully in her right to not do a Motown tribute, but say that for your Vegas show. Say that for your concerts. You know what I mean? I just feel like when you're doing a tribute, like the BET, that's one thing I like about BET, the BET Awards, is I will watch their tributes that they do to the older artists, because they have artists on there who capture originality of what the song and the artists were bringing when they did that song. Even CeeLo's crazy ass when he came out during the Patti LaBelle tribute and had on that damn wig looking a fool. But it was something as eccentric that we would expect from CeeLo, but it's still, we got it, and he didn't stray too far from giving you a little Patty dramatics. You know what I mean? So that's different. But let's get back to this tribute. So it was televised, I think, last week. I can't remember. These weeks just run together, especially when you don't watch too much television. They had the Motown 60 tribute, so 60 years since Motown's first hit did its thing. And I think it was it My Guy? I think that was the songs. I think so. But anyway, I think it was My Guy when that song first hit the airwaves and became a hit. Now, for people who don't know, which I'm pretty sure most people listening to this podcast understand, Motown was developed because at that time, as I mentioned, in the mid to late 50s when it first originally started, when artists started coming together, Berry Gordy had this idea of putting this label together in Detroit. It was because Black artists that were out at the time weren't getting their just due. They weren't getting the recognition. So he wanted to develop a record label that was ran, owned, and operated by Black people and featured Black artists who he was going to make sure got the acknowledgement that they deserved. And not only the acknowledgement, the pay that they deserved. So he started this crazy machine, and I mean crazy in a good way because it went down. If you watch movies like The Temptations or just watch different, even the Jackson 5 American Dream, the way they did their audition when they first auditioned for Motown. If you watch these documentaries on Motown or different artists and just how everything was done in-house, the songwriters, the choreography, he had like a panel of people who worked in there, and probably I think people from radio stations who would vote on songs that should be released as singles. So, I mean, this was serious, and this is why it has so much early success. And this is why you also hear about groups like the Temptations, like the Supremes, like the Spinners, and many others, I'm sure, who couldn't buy a hit when they first signed to Motown. But Berry Gordy would keep them on as artists with Motown and keep them on the payroll, but he would give them different jobs. Like some of them became, like Marvin Gaye, he became a drummer with the Motown Sound, which was the in-house Motown band. See, that's what I'm saying. They had their own in-house band. All those songs that you hear, the music that you hear on those early songs, that was done right in there, which at that time was how it was done. But it was just strictly, it wasn't hired from outside bands or nothing like that. These were Motown paid musicians. I think some artists of the Spinners and the Temptations, before they could find their hit, before that, their first song that really took off, that they felt and was voted on being a hit, that could be a hit, they became like drivers, would go on tour with the other artists and be assistants and work in the office at Motown. Some of them were even like cleaning up around there. So they were basically like janitors. That let these artists know that this man really cares about me, because today, and even I'm pretty sure back then, if you weren't giving me a hit and I was sitting here wasting my time or felt like I was wasting my time, you would be gone. You would be fired and looking for the next record label, or you just would be trying to do it on your own again. But Berry Gordy, he kept these artists on the Motown payroll, kept working and developing them. See, that shows just a lot about why these tributes to record labels like Motown are so important and why they need to capture that, what Motown is. Now, with the tribute, it was more just like a talent show. And they had big names on there, like they had Fantasia. Who else was on there? I can't even remember. I watched the whole thing, but I can't even remember who was on there. John Legend was on there howling. I mean, and I like John Legend's music, but sometimes, anyway. So it was, and then they did that. They said J-Lo was going to be there to do a tribute to Motown. She wasn't there. They done showed that damn videotaped performance. They pulled a Beyonce at the BET Awards and sent them a FedEx version of her Motown tribute performance at the Grammys. That's what they showed. She wasn't even there to do it again live. I think it was just poorly put together. What I'm getting to about the artists who did it, Fantasia, she did a good job, but Fantasia is the type of artist that is what Motown is about, is what it is, But they should have had artists on here. I don't care how popular these artists are. I don't care if no one knows who they are. I don't care how underground they are. I don't care how strictly soul music and neo soul they are, R&B they are. I don't care. They could have had Trey Songz on there howling, but they should have had, and I'm not just talking about it had had to be just black artists. Let's not do that. And I even mentioned that in the previous podcast. It's not about it being just black artists, because there were white people that worked for Motown too. Meghan Trainor, she was another one who was on there, and she did a great job. Meghan Trainor has that old school vibe and that voice, you know what I mean, that she can deliver a Motown song. So there's that. But why not have these artists on here who can give you the soul of Motown instead of just giving you ratings? And I'm pretty sure, I hate to say it, but I'm pretty sure the ratings still weren't good. I didn't check on them. But, they got to do better with these tributes. I don't know if Smokey and Barry will be here for the 65th or 70th reunion. And Diana Ross was there too. Lord willing, they will be if they do one. 60 is a big number. But come on. Now we can go back to Motown 25. And that was done in the early 80s. Majority of those artists, original Motown artists, were still alive and they were still performing. So that's different. But it was Motown. This tribute show for a 60th anniversary wasn't Motown. I remember they did a 50th anniversary special. A lot of the artists, still original artists, weren't around then either, or just weren't performing. But they had artists at the time who may not have been popular, who a lot of people may not have known, but they were soul artists and they were able to give you that. And I think they even had Faith Hill on there, or they had like some country artist on there who's not a soul artist, was able to give you what Motown is through their song. And it may not have been Faith Hill, but it was a country artist and they were on there and they did their thing. This was just about popularity and ratings. It wasn't about capturing what Motown is. And I'm a huge Motown fan. I listen to music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and of course the 90s, but I listen to music from back then more than I listen to today's music. I do listen to today's music, but I'm just not really into it. Like, I won't purchase it unless it's an artist that I really like or already like. I just don't understand what they were doing about this tribute. And of course, Smokey's the first one to defend it, but I'm like, Smokey, dude, come on now. You started Motown. You co-started it with Barry. That's your best friend. And, you probably did most of the stuff, but of course it had to have Barry's approval. But y'all got to do better. Y'all should have done better. I don't know if there's going to be any more tributes to Motown like that. I was just highly disappointed. As I said, I can't even remember all the artists who performed on there because it wasn't good. And I just wasn't feeling it at all. I felt like I was watching I don't even know. I was going to say a Motown musical, but even then they're going to give you artists who are going to make you feel like you're listening to a Motown song from back in the day. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I rambled on enough about it, but I hope people understand what I feel and what I believe a tribute should be. It should capture what that artist does and who those artists were in the songs. You can't do that with J-Lo up there. You can't do that. And there were a couple other artists on there, and I'm sorry, I can't remember. I should have wrote them down, but I didn't even think I was going to talk about it. It just came to my head just to talk about it because I saw some performance. I think it was Fantasia's performance again. And it wasn't one of her best, but it was still a Fantasia performance and we got it. I just want them to do better. Motown deserves so much more. They really do. We have to do better at paying tribute to our elders and people who came before us because so many of them don't feel appreciated by the younger generations. And it's really sad. And I hear this all the time. And I'm going to talk about that in another show about how important it is to understand your history. And this could be anything. And this isn't just for Black people. It's for white people, Asian people, Hispanic people, Indian, whoever. It's good to know your history. It's good to know where you come from so you can appreciate it and want to improve it. But that's all. I'm serious this time. That's all I'm going to say about that. Do better in these tributes. It's weird for me to say, and it feels weird, but take note from BET. That's saying a lot right there. Matthew Knowles out here still trying to pull a coin off of Destiny's Child, and and rightfully so. Rightfully so. He started Destiny's Child. He gave us Destiny's Child. He co-created Beyonce, co-conceived her, so we can't be mad at Matthew Knowles and Solange. Solange's my girl too. Don't get me, but we're talking about Destiny's Child right now. But Matthew Knowles, on top of his other opportunities that he's had to do a Destiny's Child biopic or other things, I think he was wanting to do a book at one time. I don't know what's going on with that. He had like some kind of, what was he doing? Was it like where he was trying to mold these artists in basically like a Destiny's Child boot camp? How he worked them to be the legendary group that they became. Regardless of all the changes, they still became a legendary group. But he's wanting to do a Destiny's Child musical now. So that's his newest idea, newest scheme scheme to make a few coins here and there. I don't know, but I guess that child support is kicking in. I don't know what it is, but he's still trying to make a nice little extra coin there. So do what you got to do, but I mean, I don't know who's really excited about a Destiny's Child musical. I don't know. Unless it's going to give you something like what the Temptations musical is doing out there right now, because from what I hear, there's a Temptations musical. I don't know if it's touring or it's on Broadway or something like that, but I just heard about it last week. It seems to be doing really good. Very good, actually. So if it's going to give something like that, that'll be cute. You know, musicals are okay if they're done right. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So good luck, sir. Do your thing. I hope you're able to come up with one nice, fancy, cute idea to keep Destiny's Child's name going. What's obviously most important to you is to make that coin, bruh. I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you, sir, but keep coming out here scheming and doing what you got to do, because eventually you're going to get it right. So lastly, in this week's show, I'm going to talk about family support when it just comes to your overall health. I was going to just start talking about mental illness and things like that, and this can kind of tie into that. But I get a lot of questions and just comments from people who are trying to lose weight, who are planning on having bariatric surgery, even like when it comes to mental things. You know, how does your family react? How do your friends react? Let me tell you something. We're all grown. So at the end of the day, it's up to you what you want to do, how you want to do it, and why you want to do it. But family support is extremely important to your overall process, to going forward and everything. Now, I didn't want to tell my family about the mental illness that I was diagnosed with because I know my family and I didn't want them to feel guilty like they contributed something to it, you know, especially my mother. My mother's real sensitive and she's real, you know, she's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. She's just caring. She'll give you all of her shirts, not just the one off her bag, but all of them. That's just the type of person that she is. That's who she's always been. And I knew that she would be the main one that would be feeling guilty. Yes, there were some things that I did go through in my childhood that do contribute to what is going on now. However, it wasn't all her. You know, it wasn't all family surroundings. That's just not what it was. There's so much more to that. But that's what people think. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of family doesn't support people going to a psychologist, just going to talk to somebody, talk things out because they don't want their secrets exposed, or they don't want, you know, people in their business, or if something comes back to you, they feel it comes back to them when it's just strictly about you and you getting help. Now, if they want to take the journey on their own and try to figure out what's going on, by all means, do it. But this is about you and your mental health right now. When it comes to bariatric surgery, mine was a little different because, let me say this, mine was different than someone pretty much volunteering to have bariatric surgery, even though I still had to make the decision to go that route. Well, there were other ways I could have done and gone through to fix my stomach problem. I just wanted to get rid of the entire problem. I didn't want to be on medication for the rest of my life. I didn't want to keep having procedure after procedure to try to get things that were on my stomach and messing that up to go away. I just wanted to be over and done with, and it's the best decision I ever made. Now, my family, a lot of them are totally against surgery, only if needed. They wanted me to be healthy, yes, but they just didn't want me to have surgery. Kept asking, were there other ways I can go about it and everything? And I said, look, I'm pushing 40 years old. I'm not going into my 40s like this. I don't know how long those other procedures are going to take. I don't even know if they're going to work. I just want to get that part of my stomach taken off, thrown away, wherever they put it. I don't care. I want that gone. I need to have that happen now. I'm not waiting any longer. And they also know me, so they knew I was going to do what I wanted to do anyway, but I'm open to people's opinions. You know, I mean, that's all good. I think once they saw that I was going to do this anyway, I had their support. Now, I've heard people say that their spouse doesn't want them to have the surgery. And we see it all the time because spouse married you or is with you as who you are. They're scared of what you may become. That's basically what it is. Because why wouldn't you want your spouse to be healthy? If they're uncomfortable or just unhappy with where their weight is and they want to do something something about it, support them. It has nothing to do with you. And we see it all the time where the spouse who didn't have surgery always ends up getting in their feelings and leaving because they're scared that you're going to become brand new and they liked you just the way you were. That's what they want you to think. That's something totally different. It's just their insecurities. That's pretty much what it is. I mean, let's just keep it real. And I hate to be that blunt, but it is what it is. Now, when it comes to your family, I would hope that if they don't support you at first, you can just educate them and tell them why you need to do this. Not why you want to do it, but why you need to. And especially to those family members who have never had a weight problem in their life, or they were able to lose weight without surgery. Everyone's not like that. Everyone's not built like that. I mean, it's tougher for other people than it is. It's tougher for some than it is for others. I don't think anyone wants someone that they care about and love, and this is family, spouse, which is your family, but you know what I mean, friends, whoever is in your life, doesn't want to see someone they love and care about to go under the knife. It doesn't matter what it's for. Family support is so necessary, but at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you. You make decisions about so many other things that affect you personally. Why not this? Sit down and talk to them. If you have an insecure spouse, let them know just up front, like what it is. I know it's tougher if you're married. I get that. But if you're just dating someone and y'all haven't even gotten married yet and they're acting funny towards you wanting surgery, that's something else with them. That's not you. That's with them. At the end of the day, you have to do what makes you happy and what's going to make you healthy. And the same thing goes with mental illness. If you feel something is wrong, if you just don't feel normal, I'm just going to say it like that. If you feel that something just doesn't seem like it's right with you and your family or friends or whoever is trying to talk you out of going to that and just say, oh, you just need to pray. Oh, you just need to go to church, or you just need to this, that, and the other. It's more than that. Yes, prayer works, but it's so much more than that. I just give these little tidbits out because these are things that I've actually gone through as someone who has gone through it. And I just want to share how I feel about these things and what has helped me through it. You have to get your family and friends on your side. There's no other way. But if they don't, you got to do what you got to do. I'm sorry, but you have to. So that's our show for this week. I want to thank you all for tuning in. As always, I want to start having other people on the show with me. But if you're not promoting the show, then why would you want to be a part of it? So I just need to put that out there. So if you are listening, hit me up at DannieBSpeaks@gmail.com. If you would like to be a part of the show, and we'll work some stuff out, we'll come up with some ideas to talk about, brainstorm on all that, or we can just do like I've been doing and just finding random topics to talk about or whatever. We could turn it into a conversation, but I'm really ready to start having people on the show with me and just have more fun. I think it's better when you feed off of other people. But as I mentioned before, if you would like to be on the show as a guest host, hit me up on my email, DannieBSpeaks@gmail.com. If you have any comments, questions, any suggestions, if you have anything that you'd like me to promote, endorse, hit my email, DannieBSpeaks@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out my website, blog over there at DannieBSpeaks.com. More stories are going to be coming. I'm working on them, working on some other things to bring to the site. Some more news is coming. You can also listen to the podcast at DannieBSpeaks@gmail.com. I have it like in 3 different places. I have the original posting, I have it on the front page, and I have a playlist on the website as well that you can just go to that and just listen to all of them. But not only at DannieBSpeaks.com, you can also listen on the following formats: Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Spotify, and Stitcher. So as always, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in this week, episode 19, and I want you all to have a safe and productive week. As always, peace and blessings, and have a great one. Peace.